Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday meditation gathering. So glad you're all here to share this time together. This week we have Ken Gorman, who will lead us in meditation, and then we have 20 minutes of silence. After that, we'll open it up for sharing, and we end at 10:45. Over to you, Ken.
Hello, welcome everybody. I just thought I would start off with a reading, and we can have a Q&A after. This is from a section called "The Alternate to Dreams of Fear" that I'm currently studying, and it goes: God is the alternate to dreams of fear. Who shares in them can never share in Him. That is, who shares in dreams of fear can never share in dreams of God. But who withdraws his mind from the sharing them is sharing him. There is no other choice. Except you share it, nothing can exist. And you exist because God shared his will with you that his creations might create. It is the sharing of the evil dreams and malice, bitterness and death, of sin and suffering and pain and loss that makes them real. Unshared, they are perceived as meaningless. The fear is gone from them because you did not give them your support. Where fear has gone, their love must come because there are but these alternatives. Where one appears, the other disappears. And which you share becomes the only one you have. You have the one that you accept because it is the only one you wish to have. Do you want to do the chime, Teresa?
open your eyes and come back into the room. We have 22 minutes left for sharing your reflections and your questions. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand or use the reactions button at the bottom of the screen, and I'll invite you to take yourself off mute. And if you'd like to ask Ken a question or comment with confidentiality, put your message in the chat function at the bottom of the screen, and I'll read it out. Ken, I'm wondering, when you meditate, is your mind quiet for a long period of time, 20 minutes?
No.
What? Okay. Good. I'm not the only
No,
one.
it's not the point. The best way to describe it, it's a great question. And I actually struggled with this for a long time. And I have a senior teacher that works with me in meditation, and I kept asking this question because I didn't believe the answer for over a number of years. And I'm like, my mind is still busy. And he would always laugh at me and say, leave the mind alone, was the way they put it. And because the idea is you have two centers of consciousness. One is in the head, where you can do 2 + 2 = 4 and all that. And the other is in the heart. And so when you're meditating, what you're really doing is you're resting in this other center of consciousness, why this head thing might be going here, there, and everywhere, and you're just letting it go and not doing anything with it. And as you do that, the more you do it, the more you start to rest in your identity, your real identity, as this heart and not the head. And you start to see the head as kind of like an arm or a hand. It's just kind of an extension that's there that does its thing. But so the meditation isn't about the mind necessarily being calm. It's about reestablishing this identity of the calmness that is the heart in the first place. And the heart is what's connected to Holy Spirit, or where Holy Spirit resides. And it's where all your intuition, it's where everything really sort of happens. And what happens is the head wants to, the ego is the head, I guess, from our language. And it wants to, it's very jealous. It's like Fox News. It wants to keep us busy so we don't realize we have this other center of consciousness, which is far more powerful. He covers this a lot in Way of Mastery, if anybody's read that, and about that once you get that the heart is the authority and the head, as he calls it, a dumb servant. You never go back to the other way that the head's trying to say, no, I'm important. So obviously when the head learns about meditation, the head thinks the meditation is all about it and doing something with it, right? Because it's the center of the universe. And to get the instruction to say, no, actually the meditation has nothing to do with the thinking mind. We just ignore them. The best instruction, they come, they go. You different techniques, but if you invite a house guest in and they go in, as the way Trump Rinpoche put it, yes, nice to meet you, next to meet you, next. Or you in Shambhala, you would just say thinking, just to remind yourself, and then go back to the breath, because the breath helps center this. But eventually, when you do it long enough, you get this. I remember, very distinctly, there was a moment when I made a break, and I realized that I wasn't my thinking mind. My sense of identity wasn't the thinking mind anymore. It was very distinct, a long time ago. So you don't suddenly become enlightened after that, but it's a big point. But that's true for everybody. And if you read Eckhart Tolle, that was his enlightenment moment when he goes, I can't take this anymore. And he went, wait a minute, I is over here, and what I can't take is over. There's two things here. And he says, right then, that's when for him the scales fell away. I don't think everybody will have that experience, but that it just shows how significant having this distinction and understanding what we're really doing. Now, there's another torque to this, that we are Course in Miracles students, and the course is about about God and Jesus and that energy that is supporting us in the Holy Spirit. I mean, the course to me is just really about getting us into a surrendered relationship with Holy Spirit. And so as much as we might think we're struggling with this, Remember, we're being supported. There's another energy that's coming from its own side. That because we're making the little effort, the little willingness to sit and meditate. It's supporting us in whatever is going on, and so the heart is being cleansed as we meditate. And we go back to the first page of the course, the introduction, which says this course is not about teaching the meaning of love. It's about removing the blocks to the awareness of love. And so it's almost like the dirt on the windshield is being wiped away. The heart is being cleansed so that you can have this experience of the heart being the center, and the heart is the one that's able to see reality. But we can't do this. We simply need to show up for it, like showing up to the dentist. You got to show up, and then he works on your teeth. And so the Holy Spirit, we get an extra torque in our meditation, in that he's coming in and doing that cleansing. And in doing this over and over and over again, we're starting to build a relationship with ourselves as the heart. And our real identity is not the head. The head is, and what then happens is, sorry, last point on this, is as the heart is cleansed, it infuses the head with a kind of calmness. And so the end result is the head does become calmer, and it's less important, and our thinking becomes better usually. But it's not because the meditation's working on that. That's a different, working on the ego and the head is a different kind of thing. It's like what therapy is doing. It's trying to rearrange the sand in the desert, really. But what happens is the heart infuses the head, and so the head also transforms, but it's that direction, and it's sort of a fringe benefit, or a side effect of the real point of the meditation is your relationship with your heart. What happens in the head and the crazy thoughts you're having, in fact you're angry, is irrelevant. Holy Spirit just cares that you sat down and bothered to have a little willingness. And so
great. That's helpful. Thank you. Who'd like to share? Roman, take yourself off mute.
Yes, thank you very much indeed. I was late for this meditation, and I didn't know what the theme was. So I thought, well, I'll just sit down and relax. But then there was a parcel delivered for the flat upstairs, so I felt obliged to go and get it. So it wasn't much of a meditation. But what you explained or answered for Dan's question has made it all worthwhile. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. So thank you very much indeed. There's a number of times that I have held my head and said, why do I think my mind is in my head? You know, I know fine rightly it's not, and it doesn't stop me doing it. But
no.
Now I totally appreciate, it's love that's doing it, as you say, a heart, which the ego doesn't know anything about. So I'm highly delighted. And I did miss it at the start and the interruption, or I might not have heard your comments on meditation on its own. So thank you.
You're welcome. And you said something really insightful there. Do you mind if I repeat it? The ego doesn't know anything about the heart. And I think that is a very insightful comment. And even worse, it has intellectual teachings about this. We're talking about it with the English language. Our conversation right now is at one level from the head, if you think about it, talking in English. And so because it has teachings about it, it thinks it knows about the heart, right? It's even worse. That's how it can trick you. It doesn't. Any more than if I try and I'm from Southern California and I lived on the beach. If you've never been there, I can tell you all about it, the waves, the sun, and all that kind of stuff. But that's just an intellectual concept. If you've never been there to experience it, you don't know it. And you could plug in anything for that explanation. And so the ego can't know the heart. It can have words about it. It can read about it in the course or spiritual texts. And then it can develop spiritual ego, where it thinks it now knows all about the heart because it can talk for 10 minutes on it. Frankly, it doesn't know anything any more than, I don't know. There's lots of examples. If you haven't done something, if you've never eaten chocolate cake, the fact you've studied what eating chocolate cake would be like and how the chocolate interacts on your taste buds and this, if you've never had a bite of chocolate cake, you don't know it. You just know about it. And these are two different things. And so the ego is impossible This is why the Course has this dichotomy going on all the time. And sometimes we confuse being able to talk about the experience with the experience, and then we get spiritual ego. And then what spiritual ego, and the problem with that is, because that's okay, that doesn't hurt anything. Where it starts to do damage is when spiritual ego then starts to judge us and saying you're failing at knowing the heart, you're failing at this, because now I've learned about it, I'm able to judge it, and I'm able to do what ego's really about is judging you. That's its main. It's a computer program, right? And most of what it's doing is telling you suck, and now it has spiritual things to say you're right, and the whole thing needs to be ignored. It's all just rubbish. It doesn't know anything about the heart, and when you do a meditation, that's the only thing you can know. That's the only thing you can know, is that I actually sat down with the intention for a period of time. Nothing else do you know. You can think you had an awful meditation and it was fantastic. You can think you had a great meditation and that's just spiritual ego. What you do know is that you did it. And I liken this to the gym. Anyone that's been to the gym, you can think you had a great workout. Say you have a routine that you do every time. You can think you had a great workout one time, and you can go the other time and it's really hard to get through your workout, but you get through it and it's the same workout, and your head will be telling you one was great because it was so easy and one was really hard. It was the same workout, and to the muscles and the heart and the body, it got the same exact, but the head's telling you something different, but the physical reality is the same. So if you sit with intention, and I always invite the Holy Spirit into my meditations. I always say, the way I do it is I say, I'm here for you. My intention is to let you work on me. I invite you, and of course things, right? You have to invite the Holy Spirit. You have free will, and then that's it. And you're sitting there, and there's different techniques, but he's doing all the work anyway. But you have to show up for this every day, just like the gym. And it has a cumulative effect over a long period of time. I don't know why that's the case, because intellectually we should be enlightened in a moment and all that, but it seems to be we have 365 lessons that you do over a year. So there seems to be, the Course has an idea that we are spiritual practitioners over a time period. And that's what it wants us doing. That's why it has us doing 3 exercises a day. If you look at most of the Course lessons, they're meditations, and there's some form of getting you to connect to the heart and to allow the Holy Spirit to come into it. Don't get too heady about that. But if you ever want, say, how do I meditate? Well, breathing's easy. You can just sit and watch your breath, and invite the Holy Spirit into your heart. Spend 20 minutes doing what we do, and that will do it, in my opinion. But you can take most Course lessons and allow them to be your entry point, because they have meditation instructions. Sit with Holy Spirit. Allow, there's one with a trap door in it, even, where they have visualizations. Visualizations are fine to a point, but it all works because the intention of it was to sit for a period of time. And if you look in, how's the teacher of God spent his day in Manual for Teachers? And one of the first things it says is you get up and you spend your time with God. And the only instruction it gives is you have to be sitting up. That is the one thing. It's universal throughout. I've studied a lot of traditions, Sufism and Buddhism and Hinduism. You got to be sitting up in some form. And you have to sit up, and you invite and you spend time somehow. That's what it's getting at. But it doesn't dictate the form of that, because I'm not sure. My conclusion is it doesn't matter. You do what works for you, but the intention is what matters, and that you're spending quiet time. And after a while, and generally 20 minutes is a good amount of time, like we do on this meditation. My main meditations are 40 minutes, a day. But that's okay. You work up to that. But the 20 minutes, and your mind could be going crazy or whatever, but you stay seated, and you'll never know whether you had a good one or a bad one. You just know you did it. And if you're doing it every day, something happens. I'm in meditation groups, and this thing becomes activated, and you just start seeing things differently. It's really odd. It's very subtle, very hard to describe. But these are straight up Course instructions. Manual for Teachers, first thing in the morning, spend time with God, all the Course lessons, and then those little things the Course lessons do, spend the 5 minutes or even a moment where you connect with God. And what you're doing is you're in your head, and you're saying, wait a minute, give me a timeout for 30 seconds, and I'm going to go into my heart. I really like to step back, step aside, let inspiration guide. I'm just pushing. Wait, let me step back. Holy Spirit, you come into this situation. It takes 15 seconds. and it's just transformational. I do that before a lot of business meetings. Whoa, okay, stop, Ken. Step back. Holy Spirit, you're in charge here. Just that simple intention. These are a form of meditation because we're using our free will to say, no, heart's in charge, not the head. And you do this over and over again. And believe me, you can't do it all the time, because it's we're in a human form and stuff like that, but you can do it a lot. And these are all in the course versions of this. I don't think there's precise science. I think it's just doing it like exercise. Does it really matter that you run or go lift weights or you do this? No, you just, the guidance is do a certain amount of exercise every day, do what works for you. And people who exercise are much healthier than those who don't. They don't specify the kind of exercise really, there's a certain amount you're supposed to do, but I don't know if that helps, but it's just doing it. And so that makes the difference. But you don't think your way to enlightenment. You live with Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree because he had enough. That was his thing. He said, I've had enough of all the austerity and all the learning. And he was Hindu, right? And I'm just going to sit here. And if I die and I crumble, so be it. Or if whatever's there wants to come to me, I'm here. And the rest is history, right? That was his enlightenment moment. So I'm done.
Okay. Evelyn, take yourself off mute.
Dan, that was a great question. And Ken, thank you for that marvelous answer. And it's funny. Before I went, well, actually, while I was sitting here with us, I said to Jesus, "You guide me, because I'm realizing again that I know nothing and get myself into all kinds of ego story, just convoluted about how to be quiet." And I just got a glimpse, and I just got a knowing feeling of forget the head. It's not there.
Right.
That's nothing to do with it. And it became much more expansive and so much more easier. So I thought, isn't that interesting? But I thought, well, there you are. I ask Jesus, and he answers. Jesus, Holy Spirit. And so thank you so much. I shall be replaying this over and over just to remind me, because the world does come in so strong, especially these days. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Evelyn. I love that. Forget the mind. Just forget it like that. Just dismissive, like you do to a child. And that's what my teacher kept saying to me. Ken, leave them. And he would just smile, because I'd say, I'm still my head's still busy. Because I kept asking what Dan just asked me in the beginning. I still having these thoughts. Is this working? And he just this went on for years. And he just laughed at me every time. I've told you before, leave the mind alone. It's nothing to do with this. So finally, and it's thank you for getting that inspiration from Jesus. Just forget the mind. It's nothing to do with this. Don't worry about it. And yeah, it's hard because your head wants, no, I need to be fixed. This has to be about me somehow. It's like, oh. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm done.
It's such a relief. It's wonderful relief. It feels like freedom.
Not to the ego. To the ego, it feels I've been deserted. They've left me behind. But
Thank
anyway.
you.
Who'd like to share? Ken, where was that reading from that you read?
Oh, it's called The Greater Joining. It's page 910 of 1900 on my iPhone, and it's called The Alternate of Dreams to Fear. You could probably Google it. It's ID meaning 4, right? Roman numeral 4, the greater joining, and then underneath that it's V, the alternative to dreams. Yeah, sorry, that's what I got. I read the course every day, and so I end up in these places. I forget what sections I'm in and all that. So whatever I happen to be reading is what I share, what the Holy Spirit's telling me. And this is a really interesting one that I'm getting, at least for me. this binary dichotomy that's throughout the course. But he's just saying, if you don't join with dreams of fear and malice and blame and all that, if you leave them, it creates a gap, doesn't it? And because there's only two things, that gap is instantly filled by the awareness of God. Right? And the ego tells you, if you let go of your fear and your judgment or whatever, it's unsafe. It's but and this is saying, no, if you let go of those things, it's like water. The water will rush in. God rushes in because that's what's there, like a boat. If you put holes in it, the water rushes in. And we think the boat is keeping us safe, all the judgment and stuff. But I'm like, it's that easy to know God. Because if I release these things, if I get rid of the walls of my boat, the water just naturally rushes in, because that's all there is. And I don't know, for some reason it made sense to me this time around. But and all the judgment, all that is coming from the head, so it ties in really nicely to the meditation when we start to ignore the mind, because the heart is only love. That's what rushes in. That's the water. That's what's the natural state of things. And there's only one or the other going on. All I have to do is let go of that, and this one automatically comes, because that's what's there. Something like that. But
Time for one more share if anybody wants to come in. Teresa.
Thank you, Ken. It was a it was a wonderful meditation. Thank you. I felt very peaceful, and and the vision, the image that I got is that it made me smile as well. I have a lot of files, and they're so heavy, all this paper. And I remember you said to me once, Teresa, you take a lot of notes. Do you ever look at them? And I said, no, I don't often look at my notes, but that's the past. Every piece of paper is about the past. Nothing is about the present, and that's what was coming through. And then I moved my attention to my table, and then I've got all these Post-it notes everywhere, and things that I are current, but they're current, but I don't need them. And then I look over onto another chair and I've got another pile of paper. So I thought, oh my goodness. So I started to write. I saw it all like the leaves, the autumn leaves on the ground, heavy thinking. And so Holy Spirit said, just rise above the thinking mind. Lay it on the altar, all these bits of paper. So I did all that, and I realized it's just fear, and I didn't need it anymore, and I did feel a lot lighter. So thank you.
no problem. And I remember saying that to you. I'm the same. I take a lot of notes because I do a lot of client work, and I don't look at 95% of it. And you think, why am I doing that? And I realize I'm doing it for two reasons. One is when I write it down, it goes into my head. I remember it better. And the second thing is, if I'm in front of somebody writing it down, it's a way of showing them I'm listening. And so those are the two reasons I have my notebook and my pen. One is you feel like I'm listening to you, and second is I actually am listening because I'm writing things down. And as I'm writing them down, they're going into my memory, in addition to what you're saying, in a way that I remember it better. And I don't need to look back because the process is finished. And now occasionally I look back at the 5%, so it's good to have the notebooks. But I don't know if that helps, but that's where I got to that, because I have the same thing. Like, why am I writing all this? I'm not looking at it. Can't read half of it, frankly. But anyway, I'm done.
There's a message in chat that says, thank you to each one of the conversations. Love the questions and beautiful answers. Kiss, kiss. And with that, we're finished with our time. So take yourself off mute and show your appreciation to Ken. Thank you, Ken. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
So much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, Ken. Thank
Everyone
you.
bless
Thank
you.
Thank all of you. Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you, Ken.